Well, hello, hello. Woo, finally. Today has been a very hard day to make everything work. Let me just lower a little bit Spotify because I cannot hear myself. Um, as always, let me know if you're hearing me, seeing me, if that goes through or not. Say hi in the chat if you're here, so I will not feel as alone. And yeah, what do you think about this whole video thing around here? I decided to spice some things up, so that's new. Okay, let me show you what we're gonna be doing today. Where is my scene? Is it this one? Yeah. I'm also getting used to OBS Streamlabs, so if there are some hiccups, gotta forgive me that. What do I want to show you? So, if you've seen the previous stream or maybe like the recording after that, then you might have stumbled upon me searching through Dribble for designs to kind of test out Grid. And we found, I say we because I want to believe that we came collectively to this decision. We found that we would like to start with something a little bit more simple, not to overwhelm ourselves and to get to know Grid, because I also don't know Grid that well. I think I've used it 2 years ago. So yeah, it's really not fresh in my mind, and I could really use the practice of getting through it, learning, creating something with that, because as always, the best way to learn something is to build something with it. Something. So we're going to be building this awareness app. It has 2 designs, so we're going to combine it in one. I actually have here like I don't know if you're going to see it. I've scribbled here like how it should look like, and I think we can make it nice. I don't know if we're gonna make everything today in this one stream because it can be quite a lot, and previously doing other clone UIs, I noticed that a lot of time goes on just like tiny features which you don't expect. So maybe this stream is gonna be divided into separate parts, so we can have a break, get a breather, and take off from where we started the previous day and continue. So we'll see. As always, go with the flow and see how things are. I think I left you in the description box, I left you the assets that we're gonna be using. So all of the illustrations that you're seeing here, at least I tried to find the similar ones, which I did, apart from the ones on the right side. I don't think you see my mouse. Yeah, not in this screen. But yeah, it's gonna look kind of the same, kind of not. I don't know. Also, I want to show you, 1 second. Where is that screen? Let me find it. So I came prepared, and there we go. You see my Figma, right? So what I want to show you is that usually before I start something to code it, especially if it's like a clone UI that I need to kind of like sketch some things in advance in order to be more prepared, I like to have like a rough color palette and the fonts figured out, as well as the assets. Especially now, since we're like live, I would not want to go through things and search for them. So I came prepared, and I can tell you that these are gonna be our 5 main colors, which we're gonna be putting in CSS Variables. That's also something we're gonna be using today, or in general in this clone UI. Then we have 2 fonts, headline font and a paragraph font. And this one is Aleo. I'll show you later on where to get it. And this one is Roboto. I chose those two because I like it. And also because I read somewhere that you're supposed to have, so if you're combining fonts, which you could, and if you're combining them, then one of them should be serif font and another one should be sans serif font, if I'm pronouncing it right. So that's what I was aiming for. Plus, let me show you. So I mentioned that the headline font is an Aleo font. So if you go to Google Fonts, which is where I got this font, basically you go to Google Fonts and you type in Aleo and you get it. Once you get to Aleo, you get here. And then if you scroll to the bottom, they actually offer you how to pair it best and with which font. So you could have chosen this one or this one. So there are options. And I chose Roboto because why not? We have used Roboto before and it seems it has pleased my eye enough for me to choose it. Let's put it at that. So Grid. I told you about the Figma, I told you about the color palette, I told you where to get the assets from. What else? I think, oh, where did I get the assets from? It's a website called Storyset. Let me remove Figma. There we go. So, a website called Storyset. It's amazing because you can really customize, not maybe a lot, but well enough of the illustration. For example, let's select this one. I cannot do anything here. So you can remove the floor. Usually you can select if it's simple or detailed. You can select the characters if you want them or not, the trees. They have more layers like clouds. Then you can also change the color. So all of them are based on the main color. And that's what you're gonna see in our illustrations as well. We have like one main color, which I chose to be the yellow one from our color palette. And we're gonna be using that. So yeah, those are the things that I wanted to show you, just so you know where's what, where to find it, and just to share some resources with you. I can close this one now. Whoops, don't want to show you that one yet. Okay, so maybe before we dive into that, how about I show you what I briefly showed you by mistake right now. Hey Fabio, I'm glad you had problems with the mic because I now can see it loud. Well, glad it worked out for you. But I guess also for me now it's gonna work out better because apparently my previous stream was working purely by luck, at least according to Apple support. So yeah, now hopefully it's gonna work fine and nothing. I'm not even gonna say that. It's gonna work fine. All right. So what I was saying is that before we dive into straightaway coding and everything, there is this resource called Grid Garden. I don't know if you know, but there's also Flexbox Froggy, I think it's called. Flex Froggy. Yeah, Flexbox Froggy. It's a really, really cool idea by somebody, by CodePip. And you basically can learn Flex by moving this Froggy to this Lily. And in our case, we will be doing the garden that we can move some stuff. And you can learn the syntax and get to know the things basically. Because I think if we're just gonna dive in without even knowing what Grid can offer us, not a good idea. And if you've seen on my Instagram, on my very last reel, not a fan of reading documentation. So yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this together. So feel free to open cssgridgarden.com and we can do this together. I don't know if we're gonna do all of them. There are 28 levels, so maybe that's too time consuming. But I'm gonna see how it works, how confident I feel in Grid in order to start this project, which should not be that hard, right? But you never know. Like, I know how to make it with Flex, almost with my eyes closed. Almost. But I wouldn't know where to start with that. So let's do Grid Garden. Let's maybe time box it for a little bit in order to learn, or maybe let's say, let's do like 4 or 5 exercises and then see where we're at and if we can tackle to create at least our navbar, right? Okay. So welcome to Grid Garden, where you write CSS code to grow your carrot garden. So those are the carrots. Do you see my mouse? You don't see my mouse. So I'm hovering on the carrots right now. Water only the areas that have carrots by using the GridColumnStar property. For example, GridColumnStar 3 will water the area starting at the 3rd vertical grid line, which is another way of saying the 3rd vertical border from the left in the grid. So we have our garden, which is display grid. I cannot change anything here. Can I change? Yeah, you see stuff if I write them. Okay. So our garden is our whole brown thingy. Then what? We have a display grid. So I assume this is how we have our 5x5 grid system, because then we have 20, 20, 20, 20, 20. Yeah, so 5x5. So how the garden is created is display grid. I assume it's a div. Then grid template columns does the section into 5 and gives it a 20%, so they're all equal. So if you're coming from maybe rows and columns, if you are familiar with that concept, then I guess it's like the same when you have, yeah, 12 columns don't really divide into 5. But let's say you have 6 columns, and in a row you can have 12 units, and the 6 columns are each of them of a 2 unit. You know what I mean? I think I'm going like too deep into something that we're not here for. So, you're hearing me, right? I'm not talking to myself here. Let me know if you're hearing me, if you're seeing me, if you see my screen and all of that, because second stream only, but we're doing that. Okay, so we have our grid, we have grid template columns, and we have grid template rows. Now we have our water, which is our top left square, cell, garden. No, it's not the garden. Anyway, you know what I mean. And the water, so the water, we need to water only the areas that have carrots by using the GridColumnStar property. For example, GridColumnStar 3 will water the area starting at the 3rd vertical grid line. So we're all good. Thank you. Hello. So grid column start, and it's gonna be 3. Okay. I mean, it's easy because they told us what to type. Okay, okay. I'm just trying to digest it, but I'm not sure. So if I would have, for example, an image, and I would have the grid, then I would be able to tell, hey, the image goes there. Okay. Next. Uh-oh, looks like the weeds are growing in the corner of your garden. Use GridColumnStar to poison them. Note that the weeds start at the 5th vertical grid line. So we had GridColumn start 5, right? Well, okay, that one was easy. Now, when GridColumnStar is used alone, the grid item by default will span exactly one column. Okay, so wherever you tell it to start, it's just gonna start and end there. However, you can extend the item across multiple columns by adding the GridColumnEnd property. So if you don't specify the end, then it's gonna end where it started. Like it's just gonna fill that little part that you specified. Using GridColumnEnd, water all of your carrots while avoiding the dirt. We don't want to waste any water. Note that the carrots start at the 1st vertical grid line and end at the 4th. Well, okay, so grid column end, is it 4? Yeah, I remember this. This was tricky for me because like you specify 1, which is what you start from, but then you have just one. Okay. Sorry. So you specify 1 where to start it, and then you have 3 of them, but you need to specify that it ends on the 4th, which is like, yeah, but also no. That was confusing to me. I remember that. Okay. When pairing GridColumnStart and GridColumnEnd, you might assume that the end value has to be greater than the start value. But this turns out not the case. Okay, so that was what I was talking about right now. So try setting GridColumnEnd to a value less than 5 to water your carrots. Huh? So we start at 5, but we end in the opposite direction? Would it be 2? Oops. I mean, there's probably a reason why this exists. Just checking that I'm not missing anything. Okay. Level 5. To be honest, we said that we're gonna do level 1 until 5 and then go with the navbar. I'm still not ready there. So, if you want to count grid lines from the right instead of the left, you can give GridColumnStart and GridColumnEnd negative values. For example, you can set it to -1 to specify the first grid line from the right. Try setting GridColumnEnd to a negative value. I mean, maybe this is just like to play around and see what you can do with it. But and if I do -2? So in this case, you're not saying how many, and so like you're not saying how many grids, let's call them grids, you want to fill. Grid template column -2 divided by 1. Divided by 1? Really? Oh, but that's probably later on, right, Claudio? That's when something else happens. Oh yeah, grid column. But that's probably when you don't define the start and the end, right? So those values are being taken. Is that what you mean? But then, so this is kind of like, I'm not gonna tell you how many items I want, but I wanted to finish or to stop at the point before the last one or the two last ones. That's how I understand that. Yeah? Maybe? All right, let's continue. Now try setting GridColumnStar to a negative value. Okay. -2? -3? Yeah, that's confusing. So why is this -3? Why? The previous one was -2. It was in the same position. And now this one is -1? -3? Grid column start -2, grid column and 1. Yeah, so that's kind of like what's happening here, right? Well, I cannot write a new line. This is so confusing to me. Now you see why I have been avoiding grid from all of my projects. Okay, instead of defining the grid item based on the start and end positions of the grid lines, you can define it based on your desired column width using the span keyword. Okay, I think I'm gonna like this one. Keep in mind that span only works with positive values, not a problem. For example, water these carrots with the rule grid column and span 2. Count the lines, not the squares. Oh. Oh. Okay, so wait a second. So this, again, you don't see my cursor. So like the first one, the most left cell is the first line, and then 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I'm gonna do grid end 5, it's gonna be the same. Oh, okay. Well, that actually makes sense. Because, yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's a good one. That makes sense. So we're counting the lines, not the cells. Okay. Very good. So we're back here. I think the span is my jam. Span I'm gonna like. So grid column and is span 2. Yeah, because then you're kind of like telling it stretch for 2. And that's gonna be then the cells, right? It's not gonna be the lines. I think. Which could actually even also be the lines because it's like 1 and 2. Let's see. So try using grid column and with the span keyword again to water your carrots. So that's gonna be grid GridColumn and span 5. Yeah, see how quick I did that? Because this one clicks. Oh no. You can also use the span keyword with GridColumnStar to set your item's width relative to the end position. Oh, really? You know what I think? When I see all these possibilities, which is not super wild, right? But still, it's like possibilities that you can do with CSS. It always blows my mind how our browsers can actually understand that. And people wrote that. So, yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. Do you ever think about things like that? You're just like coding or like creating a project and then suddenly, wow. Yeah. So we need to span 3. Yes. Okay. Type in both GridColumnStart. Ooh, this is what you said, Claudio. Type in both GridColumnStart and GridColumnEnd every time can get tiring, I guess. Fortunately, GridColumn is a shorthand property that can accept both values at once. Separated by a slash. For example, GridColumn 2/4 will set the grid item to start on the second vertical grid line and end on the 4th grid line. So we would need GridColumn is going to be, so we're going vertical lines, 1, 2, 3. We're going to start on the 4th one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it 4? Yeah, it is. Or 4, 6. Yeah. But then why we once ended on 5, or we didn't? Okay. Yeah. The line tip was awesome. Like, this is really, that's good. So try using GridColumn to water these carrots. The span keyword also works with this shorthand property, so give it a try. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that it has been like very customizable column. Like you could combine different values and do whatever you want with it. -1 is the last one. Yeah. GridColumn 4 -1. Oh, for this one? No, it's not for this one. Okay, wait a second. I need to use the span keyword. The span keyword also works with this shorthand property, so give it a try. What I was doing before. Damn. So we need to do 2, right? No, 2. Yeah, and then span. Sorry. Is it also with this? Span 3. Yay! That's some advanced kicking. It's funny. It's really funny that this is advanced for me. One of the things that sets CSS grids apart from Flexbox, let's see, is that you can easily position items in 2 dimensions. Just to let you know, I have followed some of your React project videos and they have been very helpful to learn. So thanks, Chips. Thank you so much. That's really, really awesome to hear. I'm planning on making more React tutorials, but I figured that some people would also prefer to kind of like start from HTML and CSS. I have some people who have been approaching me saying that, hey, what about us? And I'm like, okay, no worries. I'm gonna get you covered. But yeah, React is gonna come soon as well, because I think you can do so many cool stuff with React, like in general. HTML and CSS is pretty limited. No, that's not true. I think I'm using it in a very limited way, as we can see now. grid baby here. But I guess in terms of like websites and using JavaScript and everything, React is opening many doors and making things way more easy than they are with just plain JavaScript, especially on a larger scale project. And I think I've gotten better, like much better in React in the last year, because we're using it at work a lot. And every new project is using React, so I've gotten sharper there. So I'm gonna put more videos about React because I also enjoy doing them. Not that I'm not enjoying Grid, but React is another level for me at least. I would also like to be kind of like much better in CSS, because I think that well, first of all, CSS is a huge world. There is not really an end in sight in terms of learning it. I don't think, is anybody actually can say that they know the whole CSS? Probably not. There are so many things to learn there. And I even thought about creating maybe like 100 days of CSS. You know how there is like 100 days of code, and maybe like to do a CSS challenge for myself and commit that every day I'm gonna go and do a CSS something and learn how to use it. And not like only grid stuff and flexbox, but actual like CSS with like clips, SVGs, masks, animations. Like those are like, people who do that, I'm like, wow, you're a pro. I don't know much how to do those. I know a lot of JavaScript, I know a lot of React, but CSS is kind of like limited to what the website needs without making anything too fancy, if you know what I mean. Yeah, there is always lots to learn, for sure. It's never ending. And also, like, I think this is something like when you just start, some people make crazy yeah, exactly. Like sometimes I think I remember in the beginning when I was just like starting out and I was seeing the crazy CSS stuff, I would just copy paste them. Like, just like there is no even way I'm gonna start digging into it and seeing how it works. So hey, tech dude. So yeah, creating more React stuff, and I lost my train of thought. Let's get back to Grid Garden. So one of the things that sets CSS grids apart from Flexbox, oh right, that's where it sparked my interest, is that you can easily position items in 2 dimensions. Okay. Grid row start works much like grid column start, except along the vertical axis. Hello. So they lost me after Flexbox. Also, to let you know, there is like 10-second delay, so it will take a bit for replies for everyone. Yeah, I know. I actually had it before on 20 seconds and it was horrible. And now I did 10 seconds to see if that's too much or not. Because I think it's also like hard on the CPU or something if you're doing like an instant replay. But yeah, I know. I'm figuring those things out still. But yeah, I probably should lower it like to 3-5 seconds maybe. Okay, let's focus on this one. Grid Garden. One of the things, we need to read it again because I get distracted and I lose it. One of the things that sets CSS grids apart from Flexbox is that you can easily position items in 2 dimensions. Right, so that's what I also read about Grid. So when you use just Flexbox, you can do 2-dimensional things, but they're like very tricky and eventually they're not 2-dimensional. But then with Grid you can actually position stuff in 2 dimensions, aka the carrots that are right there in this cell. It's like a two-dimensional thing. You probably know that. I don't know why I'm telling you that. You probably are aware of this. But for me, this is what I read about it today, because I was like, maybe I should read a little bit about Grid before starting out. And that was the maximum I got. So, Grid row start. No, but don't give me the answers yet. I need to figure it out. Okay, so grid row start works much like grid column start, except along the vertical axis. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Why did it block me? Grid row start, and we also count the lines, which will mean that this one is gonna start at 3. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. 3 years web developers. I know something. Wow. Okay. Nice. Now give the shorthand property of grid row a try. Let's try. Grid row. It's gonna be 2, 3. And what if I do -1? Yeah. See, Claudio. Nana. See, nice. I used the -1. Grid row start, grid row 3/4, same like columns. Count the lines from top to bottom. Yeah. Thank you. That's awesome. Seriously, the lines is a game changer. I don't know why I didn't do that before. I don't think they said that. Did they? I don't know. How to get expert in Python. Tech dude, I have no idea. I know only JavaScript. I use only JavaScript, and yeah, Python, I have no idea. Probably by the same way as everything else, you just need to practice it. So create projects and you're gonna get better at it. That's my advice to everything. And that's why we're doing CSS Grid now. Use GridColumn and grid row at the same time to set position in both dimensions. See, now when somebody is using words like set position in both dimensions, you're losing me. Use grid column and grid row at the same time. Okay. So grid column is gonna be 1. It's embarrassing that I'm counting this on camera. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Oh no, that's the column. The column is 2. And grid row is 5. Yeah. Okay. Just messed up the columns and the rows. Smart, yeah. Okay, you can also use grid column and grid row together. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere now. I think we're getting like to the gist, right? Like this from now on, I think we will be able to use that in our project. Okay. You can also use grid column and grid row together to span larger areas within the grid. Give it a try. You give it a try. Be sassy. So the grid column starts at 2. And then what did they say? Together to span larger areas within the grid. Grid column. Let's start with the project itself. Yeah, sorry, Fabio. Just a second. I need to get comfortable. Well, I will never get comfortable, I guess. Okay, let me do 2 more, and then we're gonna go with the project. Okay? I know. I guess that's what you're here for, not to watch me do grid. Grid row is gonna be from 1 to 6. But they said to use span, so maybe let's do 1 span 5 and this span 4. Yeah, cool. And to the ones that are here to code and to do actual code along, then go ahead and in the description box, you can find the assets so you can download them so you can already have them before we start. Let's see. Yeah, okay, let's do this one. And that's it, maybe? If typing out both grid column and grid row is too much for you, it's not. There's yet another shorthand for that. Grid area accepts 4 values separated by slashes. Okay. So it's grid row start, grid column start, grid row end, followed by grid column end. So we start with row and column. Yeah, okay, so it's kind of like math, right? Because we always define first the x and then the y. Okay, so xy and xy. This is how I make the connections inside. So grid area would be start, we define first the row, and the row is going to be the 1. So 1. Then the column is going to be 2. Then the end of the row is going to be -1. Oh no, oops. 4. And then -1. Yeah, cool. So we have grid area. What else do we have here? Yeah, okay, I don't think we need that. Let's stop here with the grid, if you don't mind. And let's maybe do for the background of your website, are you using Three.js for the clouds? Notice I actually created my own animation. It's just several SVG clouds that they just have repetitive animation without loading any library or framework for that. I found it, I don't remember the name of the guy who was given the, there's a YouTube tutorial about that. There is a guy who is really good with animations in CSS. Don't remember his name, but you probably know him. He's pretty famous. And I did that from him, I think. But it was a long time ago. It was like about a year ago. But no Three.js. Nope. All right, so we're gonna stop here as requested, and we're gonna go here. So let's start with the project. What do you say? So I have like the sketch here. I showed you before. I don't know if you saw it. Let me show you again. It's super high tech, okay? It's super high tech. So prepare for that. You see the stuff? You see the stuff? That's what we're gonna be doing. It's like serious business starts here. So in order to start it, let me okay, good to know. I'll have a look. Thank you. Yeah. I can find it maybe later on, but I don't know. Let's see, maybe we're gonna have a break and I can find it, or maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, it's SVGs. Oh, and actually I think if you inspect the website, then you will see the SVGs and you'll see them. I don't know if that helps you. Let me know if I'm confusing you further or not. Okay, let's start with the stuff, with the real stuff. So where is my, I need to show you another screen. So I'm gonna stop sharing my, yay! Sorry, I'm so excited because it took me a while to set it all up, so I'm like, let me know if you see my code editor and a blank page. True, now all good. Wait. Don't let me distract you. Yeah, as you can see, I'm easily distracted. Goldfish over here. Okay. So, friends, open your code editor of choice. Yep, we can. Cool. Open your code editor of choice with the project. So what you need to do is basically create a folder in your machine, and in that folder you're gonna have the assets that I put in the description box. Download those, and in that folder, not in the assets but on the same level as the assets, create an index.html file. Simple, with nothing. Okay, that's gonna be our general file where we're gonna be doing everything. We're not gonna be splitting the code like in React, because I think it just adds to the complexity of it, and to be honest, I don't think there are any projects anymore in just simple index HTML, so there is no need to go over that. We're just gonna learn how to work with it, but not like splitting and creating like full-blown project. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say. Okay. So index HTML, every HTML page has its own structure. So I use Visual Studio Code, and it comes with Emmet, and Emmet is the best thing you can ever have. Maybe not the best. There's now a GitHub Copilot thing, which is apparently the next best thing. But in Visual Studio Code, Emmet is awesome. So if it's HTML, if you don't have the Visual Studio Code, then the syntax is as following. You have a doc type, then you need to define the HTML and lang. Let me know if you can type it yourself or you need assistance with that. Here, I'll make it bigger. Is the font okay? Do I need to make it slightly bigger, maybe? Like this? Would that be better? Then we have some meta tags, which are just coming as is. You don't actually have to write those. None of those. I don't think you need them. You can just go, I mean, you could, if you can, but you could also just do doc type, HTML, head with a title, empty body, and close the HTML. Also, we would need to indent those things, right? And then we can start. You know what, let me bring back those meta tags just in case. It's good, okay. So you see here document, that's gonna be the title of our page, which goes, you see my, yeah, you finally see my cursor. So you see in here in my browser, I see index.html. We don't want that. Let's write awareness app. Awareness app. Save it. And then if you open that index.html file in the browser, then you're gonna see it. Awareness app. What did I do? No. Oh, damn, Daniela, what did you do? Wait a second. Sorry about that. Should not have dragged that. Okay, we're back. So now we have the title, and let's add, okay, let's write something in the body. Let's create a div and write hello, or in the best tradition of everything, hello world, and refresh it. There we go. There is our hello world. Now, if we would want to add any font to this, or our page needs to be dark. Thanks for all the great content. Thank you, David. Okay. So if we want to add any font, or we want to have our background color, like, yeah, you can see that, cool. Our background color to be this one, then we would use CSS. So let's go ahead and create style.css. And before we do anything here, we need to add it. I'm gonna be opening and closing this sidebar, so don't mind. We're gonna be using it as, is it also meta? No, it's a link, right? It's a link of CSS. So you open, what do you call, angle brackets, link, the relationship you define, which is a style sheet, style sheet, and the href is going to be style.css, but I think we need to pass, how is it called, a slash? Yeah, a forward slash forward, you know what I mean. It needs to be like this because we need to say that it's in the same directory as our HTML. Will this be recorded for later? It's 3 AM here, so I might head to bed. Yeah, of course. Like, everything is going to be just saved in videos, so you can check it out later. And have a good night. Thanks for joining. So, style CSS. I mentioned that we're going to be using CSS variables, which is very exciting. I really like using them because it's also easier to create like some themes later on, but that's for later. Maybe we can upgrade this app in React after we're done with it. But for now, let's define the variables. So if I remember correctly, the way you define, so maybe I should start telling you what is a variable. So remember the color palette that we have with like 5 colors. Instead of always saying that, let me show you on here. So instead of going and saying, hey, make this one white and this one yellow and then this one white and this one white, then you just define a variable called text color, and you just put it everywhere and use it once. This way, if once your color of white changes, I don't know, to gray, then you don't need to go and redefine it everywhere. You just change it in that one variable. For the background color, can we make it adjustable, like our theme? Yeah, we could, for sure. The thing is that if you want to make it adjustable, you will need to have some JavaScript, because you will need to have like a switch. Or we can use the, there's like a thing called from the browser that it reads the preferred theme of the user. But yeah, let me write that down so I will not forget. So light. Because if we are setting already variables, then I think it's going to be a very great addition if we can add the themes. We can do some workaround if we don't want to use any JavaScript. We'll figure things out, but for sure. So let's apply first our colors. And the way we apply them, I think we need to define them on the root. And how you write variables is by writing them --. Let's write text color. And our text color, let me tell you which one it is. I have it in Figma. It's gonna be #F4F4F4. Then maybe we can create a secondary text, because this one I think is not as white as this one, or the yellow can be. Well, let's just create like 5 variables and then we're gonna go from there. So I usually copy down, I don't type things again, which is kind of lazy. So the way I copy down, I'm using Mac, and I don't know if that's like a thing that I define, but I think it's available in VS Code by itself. So I press Shift and I press Option, and then I put the arrow down in order to copy it. Awesome, have a good stream. Thanks, Deza. So text color is not going to be a text color anymore. Let's do maybe a text secondary, and it's gonna be, where's my Figma? Yep, that might be a little bit dark, but let's go with it. So 57, 57, 56. Also, is the Spotify is too loud for you, or is it fine? I feel like I cannot hear myself and I need to shout. Okay, we have two variables now, and let me show you before we continue creating them how we can use them. So on the body, we can define that we want all of our text to be our text color. So we do color and we do var for variable, and then you write text color. It was even suggestive. And now if we refresh it, it didn't do anything. Why? We imported style.css. Excuse me. Am I missing something crucial here that I don't do? Okay, let's check with the background color. Let's do background. The background color is gonna be 1F, 1F, 1F. Yeah. So if we define a background color as a var, and then dash 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 background color, save it. Why doesn't it apply? Yeah, okay, sorry. So we didn't need to specify the slash in the href in the link of the HTML. So here I had a slash, you don't need that. Please remove it. Save it, and that's how we have our variables applied. There we go. Let me know if everything's all right. Sorry, the chat is a little bit cut off, but I guess it's better if you can see the code rather than the chat. Or let me just put it on top, maybe. Yeah. If that's not too confusing for you. Okay, so let's continue. Let's define, let's not define anything. Let's check what we have here. So the main colors that we need would be this red color, the background color that we have just defined, this one as maybe as an accent color. Okay, so we need two more. We need our orange-ish and yellow. How are we gonna name them? So why I'm thinking, because if you just name them yellow or orange or red, like specific to their color, later on if you want to add themes, then that can be confusing, because maybe in your theme, if you make like a white theme or a light theme, then the contrast is going to be off, and you want to maybe turn it to, I don't know, to a blue one. Or maybe you're going to have a sepia one and it's going to be brown. So color red is not going to make sense anymore. You know what I mean? So you want to be as abstract as you can. For example, even text color, I would do like text main, and not text color, because the second one we have secondary. So let me change that quick to text main. Then what do we have? We said the orange and the yellow. So let me just drop the values here. Do you have any suggestions how to call them? Because I don't know. Like usually I would take one of them and I would call them an accent. And in our case, the accent is probably the orange one. So let's maybe do that. Accent color as the orange or the red. It's not ideal, but we could do accent color main and accent color secondary. I don't think it's the best, but I mean, for now, until I have better idea or you suggest something, we're gonna roll with that. Okay. All right. Now, I mentioned that we're also gonna have a font. So let me show you how to get the font. You would need to go to Google Fonts, and this one. And you can you can search here for Aleo if you want to use the same font that I'm going to be using. You can also choose any font you want. You can just go with the default if you prefer, if you don't want to deal with this stuff now. Aleo, and then I chose to pair it with Roboto. So I add Roboto, and yeah, dismiss this. So I have Roboto here, but I also want Aleo, and we want the regular. And the good thing about Google Fonts is that they create for you already a link here, and you don't need to like overthink anything. You just copy this whole linking parade. You go to your index.html and you add it before your styles. There we go. Indented, of course. And we added before the styles, so our CSS will be able to use it, because if we add it after the CSS, then it will not know what we want from it. Whoops. Then we have this one, the CSS rules. They even tell you how to apply it. So we're gonna copy that, and we're gonna put it in here as a comment, so we're not gonna lose it. And our font family for the whole body is gonna be Roboto. So every content that we have is gonna be Roboto, unless we specify otherwise for our headlines. I think that's how we should go for it, because there is more content that is not headline usually, rather than a content that is headline. But if you want, you can also specify case by case, but that might lead to like a very repetitive situation. What you could also do, you could even put those in variables if you want to offer your users like a change in variables, or depending on a theme. I remember like back in the days, there was this Russian Facebook, and there you could choose, for example, a pirate theme, and even the font would change. So not only the colors, but also the fonts and the images. And I guess like if you want to offer the users that level of customization, then you would put also the font family in a variable. But we're not going to do that. We're going to have a pretty stable website. Okay. Let's start with the navbar. Honestly, I'm extremely tempted to do the navbar in Flexbox. Yeah. But we're not going to do it in Flexbox. We're going to do it in Grid. So let's save this. Refresh. You see our font changed. All right. So let's remove our hello world div, and we're going to start with our navbar, and it's going to be an element that is called nav, because semantically we need to use nav, so it makes more sense because HTML5 offers us all of those tags, and whenever you can use not just a simple div but actually something like header, nav, footer, section, you should do that. Although I'm still a little bit like not fully set on when to use article or aside and things like that. But the most basic thing that you can do is to put your navigation in a nav tag, that's for sure. So we're gonna have navigations items. Ma'am, I'm interested in HTML. How should I start? Tech dude, there you go. You're in the right stream. Just open your code editor and start typing whatever I'm typing. That's how we start. We're doing a hands-on approach and we code together. So the nav. We have this logo and COVID-19. So let's put that in. So we're gonna have, let's maybe comment stuff. We're gonna have an image. Then we have COVID-19, and then we're gonna have another thing. So like the nav consists of two things, right? If we kind of like zoom out, you have the left part and you have the right part. Left part is logo and company name, which is in this case not a company name but a topic name, and on the right side we have all the links that the page can have. So what are they? Overview, statistics, symptoms, and prevention. Let's write them down. Overview, statistics, already forgot, symptoms, and prevention. And then we have a special case of resources. Now, all of that is not going to be just text because those are potentially clickable elements, which are A tags. But what I'm thinking about is how to make them kind of like push each other aside. You know what I mean? We have this one on the right side, on the left side, and this one on the right side. And there is a space here. Maybe we can do it with, I think in Grid you also have auto. There is a great Grid cheat sheet. Is it this one? No. No. This one is not bad. It's not what I meant, but it's not bad. What is this Grid? Grid template? Okay, never mind. Let's put our image and the COVID in their own separate div. So let's write our image, and then we're gonna have maybe, I mean, usually when you have this element in your navbar, then it's most likely clickable because you want it to be redirecting to the home page. So let's do an href and define a slash, which will mean that it's gonna go to the root of your project. And we're gonna write COVID-19. Isn't it sweet that VS Code doesn't know about COVID? What a life you're living, VS Code. Okay, and our image is gonna come from /assets, and there is a logo here that I put, and here we're gonna write logo. Although I'm not sure if we're supposed to write logo when it's a logo because it's redundant. But let's see. Yeah, we don't get anything. I had this issue before. Yeah, there we go. Cute. So our styling is off for now. Let's not focus on that. Let's put all of those links in their own h tags. So what I usually do is I do Option and Command on Mac, and I do the arrow down, and it adds more cursors. So this way I can type in simultaneously on all of them. So yeah, sometimes it can get tricky, but check it out. Pretty smooth, right? Yeah, cool. Now it might have been unnecessarily complicated, but we are here. Oh, I forgot the href. href. For now, you can also put the slash because we're not gonna have any routing, as this is also React stuff. Not React stuff, sorry. JavaScript, because if you... No, what I wanted to say is not true. We're just not gonna do it at this point because then we will need to create separate pages, and we're not gonna be doing it now. Where does it need any IDE or Notepad edited? Can I code HTML in my... maybe if you don't know about IDEs yet, then maybe this can be a little bit advanced for you, tech dude. I would suggest maybe you can start out with finding what's your code editor of choice and seeing what's HTML. I'm not going to be explaining that in this stream. Okay, so let me drink for a sec. All right, so we have our hrefs and we have our div. The reason why I put it in a div because that's kind of like a flexbox idea, right? That I usually put stuff in a div and then another div and then I kind of like push them aside. I'm still not sure if that's what we're going to be using in the grid, but I would assume that at least for the COVID and the logo thingy, we are. So yeah. Now let's also, by following like the same idea, we're gonna put here a div and we're gonna wrap all of them there. So this way we have two elements that we want to kind of like define that this one stay together and these ones stay together. So what happens if we're gonna refresh now? Okay, they're all like this. So let's go to our style CSS and change our A tags to be of a color. What if we do on set? Is that gonna do something? Yeah. So instead of defining the color of that it's a text main, if the color of your links stay the same as your main color on the body or on your parent element or somewhere, then you can just do unset and it's just gonna remove the behavior that was added to it. You know what I mean? It kind of like removes any additional styling from your element for that specific attribute that you set. I don't know if it's supported everywhere, but I started using it recently and I kind of like it because then you don't need to redefine it all the time. And then we also need to remove the text decoration. None. Yeah. But we still have the cursor, so that's nice because it's still... And also if you use tab, then it's still selectable, which don't remove those, okay? What else? What IDE are you using, ma'am? Please tell I know to code Python. I use Visual Studio Code. All right, now what? Let's maybe put them on the same line, or what are we gonna do? Let's explore grid. Let's see what we can do with grid here. I'm gonna open the inspector. Sorry about that. So I open the inspector, and you can already see that we have our root variables there. What I wanted to do is, instead of like writing it in the style CSS and then refreshing the page, let's do it right here. Let's go to our body, we go to the nav, and we're gonna write display grid, right? That's how you start a grid. Okay. Now what? What is this flex, not flex. What did our grid garden tell us? There is a grid area, or we have, so we don't need a grid area because we're just gonna have one line. So let's have grid template columns. Here, grid template columns. It's no, wait a second. Why is it jumping? Yeah. So grid template columns. In our case, we have like this 5 cells or squares. We don't want to have that. We want to have one, and then another one, and then a space here. And I think you can use auto. So let's try. So our first is gonna be, I think you can use one fraction, auto, one fraction. Woohoo, look at that. Oh, but, okay, so do you see the purple lines? So what they say, will this be also mobile friendly? Yeah, eventually we are gonna cover responsive. Just need to figure out how to do it with the grid. But yeah, for sure, it's gonna be responsive as well. Mobile friendly, I mean. I call it responsive. Probably like a habit from work. So you see the purple lines, probably. Do you? There's like a, so you see the 1, 2, 3 things. What we now need to do is we need to put our second div with the links, with the overview, statistics, symptoms, and so on, in the last grid template in the column. So I'm going to copy this, all what we wrote here, and I'm going to put it in the nav. You could also use classes if you prefer. Let me show you how to do that. So when we write just nav, we're targeting directly the tag, but we can also use dot navigation, which if you write a dot, then it's a class. And if you want to use that, then you copy it, you go to your index HTML, sorry, and in the nav, you're going to write class, you pass it quotes, and you write navigation. And this thing is going to be applied. Oh, I've been really talking for 1.5 hours already, okay. No wonder my voice is giving up on me. Let's maybe make a 5 to 3 minutes break. I need to drink and recover my voice, okay? See ya in 2 minutes. All right, I'm back. Hope that helped my throat. No, maybe it didn't. I'm sorry. Okay, so we copied this thing from the inspector, and we put it in the style .navigation. All right, so now our challenge so now our challenge was that we need to actually push these things to the left side, or to the right side, and I think we can do that by, let's define here a class called links. We're gonna use like very basic class naming. We're not gonna adhere to any BAM or anything because we need to move forward. We can iterate over it later on as much as we want, but not right now. So links, how are we gonna do that? Grid column start, and that's gonna be 2 if we save that. No, is it? Oh no, it's 3, right? Yeah, cool. And then we need to align it. No, why is this like that? Wait a second. That's not what we wanted though. Why is it now only 2 of them? I have 1 fraction auto, 1 fraction. Let's go to the grid cheat sheet. It's this one, CSS tricks. That's what I wanted. Yeah. That's a poster. Okay, so it is this one. So I want to have, so this is what we kind of have. We have a header, which is our nav, and then we want to style the header, but that's different stuff. Dun, 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 dun. That's aligning, that's already inside. No. Okay, so let's read. Properties for the parent, display grid. We have that. What's in that grid? That's interesting. I didn't see that. Then we have GridColumnStar. Yeah, so they can use auto, number. So here's what I did. I did 1 fraction auto, 1 fraction. And that's what they did here as well. You know what? Maybe actually the auto is just being, it just doesn't make sense here. I don't know if this is something that I read somewhere or if I've used it like that, but there was a thing that maybe 1 fraction and auto are actually the same things, and that's why they're kind of like, you know, same. So let's go another way. Let's actually create this little cell here. We're gonna give it a specific width. So how much is this? This is 76, and this is, so where's our div? This one. Okay, this div is too big. This one is 29 and 76. So if we're gonna give it 100 pixels to the first fraction, it's gonna be 100 pixels. Let's save it. Oh, that's too small. Let's do 120. It's probably 110, right? Okay. And then now this will have the div, and then we have another div. Why is this div starting here? I told it to start from the third, but it doesn't do that. Because you see, if you look at it now, we have only two things. Okay, there is a grid option here. How can I work with that? What does this thing do? Nothing. Oh, here it is. Oops, nope. Never mind. How to handle responsive if you give it a specific width? Yeah, that's a good question. So that's why I try to go with fractions and auto, because you're right, you usually would not define a specific width in order for it to be later responsive and not create you a headache as a developer. But we do know that, like, most likely in the app or in a mobile device, you would still want to put the logo and the name of it. And that's why here I went with the decision to actually specify this 120 pixels. So for example, for this part, totally would not do any specific pixels because it's not going to be responsive eventually, because you want it to be flexible and to shrink and to move according to your screen's width. But if it's like a tiny thing, and if it's like an image, then you would go with pixels, or you could go with pixels. It's not too bad, or it's not bad at all. It's just a way of using the pixels there. Is this tech dude your student? Nope. So that's why we're using the 120 pixels. But you're right, Fabio. For example, if I would need to define like a 500 pixels, then I would not do that, because there are some devices that are smaller in width than 500 pixels, and that would already kind of like, let's say that if we would want to make it responsive later on with defining very, very set in stone pixels widths, then we would have to override it in media queries, which is something that helps us to make responsive stuff later on in the CSS. And that's not something that we want to do. We want to straight away create something that is going to be flexible everywhere. And that's why. The right part can become a hamburger menu on mobile SOS. Yeah, absolutely. But before it also becomes a hamburger menu, there is like this part that maybe, this depends when is your website considering that you are on a mobile device. So for example, if I would have more items here, and let me show you. So let's just, for the experiment part, just copy it down. You see I already have many items, and at this point I would probably have already the burger icon, right? Hamburger menu, yeah. But also I want this part to be pushed here, and the little gap in between would get bigger or smaller depending on the width of the screen. But yeah, it's gonna disappear and it's gonna be in a hamburger menu, because on the mobile device you want to have just like the really needed information that you that you want to give the user without over cluttering the screen. And if they want to access other pages, then they will most likely know that they need to click on the menu icon for sure. Okay, how do I push this one to the side? Yep, different resolution right here. Yep, up. Exactly. Okay. So maybe we actually don't need the auto, or we do. Like if I would just do it one fraction, what just happened? How did it miraculously go there? Is this even proper grid? Because I defined only 2 columns, right? Or not? This is so weird to me. Wait a second. If we go back here and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have the 6th here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I don't know. That might come back at us like a very, very fast boomerang and hit us in the head. But for now, for some reason, it worked. Why did it work? What if I do 2? Is that gonna go to the space there? Interesting. Okay. So GridColumnStar 3, that's our solution. And it also kind of like pushes it there. What happens if we move stuff? Yes, that's what we wanted, apart from this. So this is gonna be our, well, that's not probably gonna be our breaking point. We're gonna have a bigger breaking point, I guess, to make it nicer. But yeah, all right. There is hope, guys and girls and everybody else. I should not say guys. I wanted to say everybody. I usually don't say guys. I don't know why I said it. Okay. Let's get back to our design. So what do we see here? We see that this thing, oh, we can enlarge it a little bit. So we need to align it all on one place, and now it's not really aligned. I also think that this font size is probably a little bit smaller. But okay, let's start with this part. Do you see my, yeah, you see everything. Okay. So these 2 beautiful items need to be on the same level. And honestly, I'm gonna use Flexbox for that. Because let me justify myself. If I'm gonna use Flexbox, it's very easy to align items center. You see? So I think maybe we don't need to use everywhere grid. I'm gonna be using grid to the best of my abilities. As you can see, I am not a pro at all in grid, and I'm figuring it out. But also we're gonna use other things when it makes sense, because if we're gonna stumble on every element and make it a grid, we're never gonna leave this place. And also I don't think, like, that's another thing. It's like sometimes you need to know when to use what. And also maybe in this case, maybe flex isn't the best idea. Maybe there are other things that are more appropriate to use here, but we're gonna be using this. We can call it class, let's give it a class of brand, because usually it will be a brand. And then we go to our navigation. Between links and navigation, we can do .brand. and we paste it. We write display flex and align items center. Save it, and now it's aligned. Now our what is this? It's an A tag. Needs to have a little bit of a margin, right? What do you say? Let's give it a margin left of 1 rem. Oh yeah, look at that. Because the rem is too big, then we're not gonna, it's gonna break our template. So let's go back to our grid. What if we do one fraction here? Look at that! Look at that! Yes, this is what I wanted. Oh, you know why it is like that? I think because it's the combination of grid and flex. Because if I'm gonna remove the... No, it's not. I don't know, but hey, Fabio, look, we're gonna remove our pixels. Just put it to one fraction. I'll take it. I'll take it. Should have tried that in the first place and not spend half an hour of your life. Okay, so grid template columns, one fraction. Brand has display flex and align item center. And then our dot brand and A, because we want to target the href that we have inside. We're gonna write margin left of 1 rem. It doesn't have to be 1 rem. It can be like 0.8 rem because nicer, but whatever it is, so ideally you should stick to have spacing that is also you know, like with the color palette that you have 5 colors, same goes with your spacing. You should have like maybe like 4 or 5. I usually have like 3 to 4 spacing elements that I have, or like spacing values, because then it looks much more unified. And if you don't know what rem is, it's basically relative to pixels, I think. Yeah, that's not what I wanted to Google. rem pixels. It's relative elements something relative units, and then there's a calculator for that if you're like not really strong in rems. So what I do, so why do we need to use rems, or why we should use rems, is because if a user has on their website, you can't see the part of the screen. Oh, which one? Oh, my video. This? Sorry. There we go. Sorry about that. So why using rems? When a user goes to the website, and let's say they have in the browser, you can set up whichever font size you want. And let's say somebody really wants to have a font of I don't know, 30 pixels as a default, you know, when it's like very enlarged, because they need to have it like that. So if you would set everything in pixels, then that would be still small for them. But if you set in rem, your spacing is gonna be relative to the pixels that the browser is setting. You know what I mean? So if you have here 30 pixels, then use 1.8 rem, and that's gonna be the size of like stuff in your website. I feel like I already made the point and I don't know why I keep on explaining it. So let me know if that was clear or not. But anyway, we're gonna be using REMs. The thing is that now you cannot see my inspector, so let me put it like this. That should be fine, at least for now. Okay. So we did the REMs, the margin left still looks like a little bit too much in here, so we can do 0.75. And maybe we can give some margin from here as well. Let's see. Clear. Cool. Hi, Carolina. Margin of 0.5 rem. Maybe too much. Or maybe I'm going into detail where we shouldn't go into detail yet. Let's just do margin left 0.5, done. What do you say? I think that's all right, right? I also think that, well, no, this one I think it's okay size that we have now. The font is a little bit different, that's why the discrepancy is a little bit. But these ones are much smaller, so let's do those. And we named them links, remember? So we're gonna do dot links A, and every link, first we're gonna space them out. So here we have some spaces, which I would assume that it has a margin right, because we want to push it from this side to the left. So let's write margin right, and we're going to do 1 rem because I feel like it has quite a big margin there. Yeah, maybe even bigger, 1 point, or maybe that's enough. Yeah, that's enough. The links, the size of them, the font size should be smaller. Let's do 0.75 rem, might be too small. I don't know, what do you think? Is it alright? Maybe it's alright. Then you know what I want to do? I also, like, you see that right now. So if you see like the brand part is aligned centrally vertically, but the left part, or the right part, sorry, is not. And I think, yeah, so if we check, I think we also should put it like a flex box, or we can, I'm gonna try something now. I'm not sure if it's gonna work. Okay, so that one is a guess. I'm not gonna use that. But I know that if you set the line height to be the same or a little bit bigger than your font size, then it kind of like stretches the font in it. So it's okay. You know what I mean? And by it's okay, I mean that it's aligned central. So what if I do 1 rem? You can't see the screen. Which screen? I'm doing stuff in the inspector. Do you see that? But instead of using the line height, let's go again with the display flex and use that. So the same as the brand, maybe instead of redefining it, we can do dot brand, and then we can chain or just write another one, comma, dot links, to make it also have the same same attributes. See? You see how it like kind of went to the right place? Says the person who said that we're not going to use Flexbox today. That was a premature statement. Okay, so maybe the right one. I think you should be seeing everything right now. But let me know if you don't see or what exactly you don't see, because I cannot really guess. Like, to me, it looks like you can see everything. So let me know. Okay, let's compare it with our app. We need more margins. That margin is, what if we do 2? Yeah, okay, 2 is fine. Cool. 2.5? Is that more? I think it's okay like this. Okay, so the next one that we need to do is resources. You see that it's like a button, or it's like a pill or something like that, right? So let's call it one special. So there are 2 ways that we can go about it. We can or define a specific class and maybe call it CTA or something like that, because it's our like main thing, it's our call to action. Or we could use the CSS property of last child. And I think for the sake of the experiment, it's going to be nice to use the last child. Can see my comments, I think it's lagging. Oh, sorry about that. The internet is unstable world. Okay, I hope it's gonna unlog itself and you're gonna be right on speed with that. So we said last child, so links, and we're gonna do last child, and let's give it a background color of var that we already have, accent color main. Brilliant naming, isn't it? Sorry, we need to specify that it needs to be the A, right? Yeah. So we're saying, hey, in the links, go and find us the A, that is the last child of them all, and put the background color to this. And that's what we get. Now we want to get kind of like the pill and the rounded thing. And how we can do that is by, first we need to give it some padding. So my go-to is always, so padding is clockwise or top, bottom, left and right. So let's start with 1 rem and 2 rem, which is probably going to be quite big, but we're going to go with it. Yeah, it's a little bit too much, isn't it? Let's go with maybe 0.5 and 0.75, which is a very, very different thing than what we just gave. Yeah, I think this one's nice. Now we need to give it a border radius, and I think it's gonna need a little bit of more of a width. So let's do 0.5 and 1. Yeah. And then our border radius, is it gonna be 50%? Border radius, no. Wait, how do you do the rounded pill? What? Do we need to define it like one by one? Wait a second, wait a second. So let's do top left radius. It's gonna be 10 pixels. 15. And then border bottom. Yeah, okay. For 1 second I was like, what? Yeah, so wait a second. If we give all of them as 15 pixels, yeah, okay. I was just too optimistic with the pixels, with the percentages, sorry. So again, are we going to use pixels here or are we going to use percentages? There are some places, as I said, that you can use pixels because it might make more sense. And in this case, when it's like very tiny, or if let's say you need to move something by 1 pixels, you would not use percentages or relative stuff. You would actually go with pixels. So copy this border radius and put it in here in your last child selectors. Yay, nice. I think it has too much of margin here. So let's swap the margin and actually make a margin right, margin left, sorry. Yeah, I think this one looks better. What do you think? Okay. You know what I also want? I want to change the color on hover because I think it should be like it should look like we're hovering, not only with our cursor. So the way how we do that is dot links a, and we do hover. And in this case, we can specify color. Which color do we want to use? Do we want to use the gray that we have, the text secondary? Let's try it. Maybe it's not going to be that readable. So var text secondary. I mean, it's not too bad, is it? What if we're gonna use the accent color main? Oh no, it's not gonna be good because this one is gonna be red. What if we use secondary? Is that gonna be nicer? Not a big fan of these combinations of the orange and yellow. Oops, not in the right place. So in the hover, let's use the accent color secondary. You like it? I don't really like it. I prefer more the gray. But if you prefer the yellow, then go with the yellow. I'm gonna stick to the gray. All right. And now our navbar is done for desktop. I would suggest that we're gonna do this part now. So I think it would be better if we do first the desktop part, but with the idea that we need to do it as well mobile friendly and responsive. But we're gonna tackle that after we have all the things and practiced a little bit Grid. And by we, I mean me, because I think I can give you more advice and more information about Grid once I have kind of like tried it a little bit more. So let's go with that. Okay. Let's create then the header. And in here we're gonna have the div, coronavirus pandemic. So first is gonna be a p tag, right? This coronavirus pandemic is just a p tag. Then we're gonna have an h1 tag, which is stay home, stay safe. So for SEO purposes, Google usually doesn't like if you do 2 h1 tags. But this is probably a topic for another day. So we're gonna do 2 h1 tags. Stay home, stay safe. Oops. And then we have like a little HR thing. What did I do? Clicking on things I should not be clicking. So then we have a little horizontal line, which I actually don't know if we can make it smaller and shorter, but we're gonna try. And then we have another paragraph, which is this, the 2019 da 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 da. So it's gonna be another p tag, and let's insert just lorem ipsum them. Lorem ipsum is just text placeholder that here generated, and you just copy it and use it in your website. There are also some funny lorem ipsums, like lorem ipsums about cheese or about cats. So just to make copy text a little bit more fun. But so I'm gonna put this down a little bit. I'm not doing anything there, so you should still see it. And that's what we get. Very, very, very not beautifully written thing. Okay. We're gonna work with that. And then let's create another div for our image. Or actually we don't need another div. We can just like straight away put our image here. And the source is assets and hero. What's gonna be our alt? Let's check the image first. Ooh. So let's define a I wanted to say let's define a width for that, but no. What we are gonna define, so the image is too big for now to check it, right? So let's go to our header, and since we created like a class for our nav, let's also do that for the header. Class heading, just to nav has navigation, header has heading. We are like not predictable at all. Oh, hello, Renee. Why not just add a break in the H1? Yeah, I could do that. That's true. So heading. Wait, what did I want to do in the heading? Oh, the image. The heading and the image, I want to give it a max width of, let's say, 500 pixels. Let's just try it out for now. Okay. Yeah. And let's do what Renee said. By the way, Renee, I think Renee was, so we used to be colleagues in another company, and he was the one using Grid a lot. I didn't. And then he left me with the code with Grid, and I had to work with Grid, and I didn't like it. And here we are today. So, like this. Not bad, not bad. So, yeah. Still remember that, Renee. Still remember that. Okay. So we said we're not going to be using Flexbox for that. Although, really, like, if you check it right now, like, this whole layout is just screaming Flexbox to me, because I just have one div and one image that I want to put them on one line. But I said that we're not going to be using Flexbox everywhere. So, but this is going to be easy, right? Because this is just like, we already did that before. So what is it going to be? It's going to be, let's put it here, dot heading, and display grid. And then already forgot it. Grid template columns, one fraction. Don't throw at me anything. Yay! Cool. Yeah. I don't know, feels like an overkill to use a grid here. Feels totally appropriate to do Flexbox. But that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm just saying that because I'm way more comfortable with Flexbox than with Grid, and that's why my brain just goes there straight away. But anyway, so the image actually looks fine here, right? If we compare it to this one, it's not bad. I think our lorem ipsum text is way too much. We don't need that much. Let's remove one line, not everything. Yeah. Did it remove anything? It didn't make it. Okay, never mind. So let's work with the div. How are we gonna call this? I actually want to put the heading in the div. Let's do that. Let's put this class in here to this heading, and then our image, we can just use the header. Yeah, let's just use header in both places. Both places, I mean, where we also targeted the image. Yeah, nothing broke or changed. So now in the heading, we can also target element by element. So I think our colors change here. Yeah. So we have one yellow, then we have one smaller text, like our navigation. Okay. So I mean, we cannot just target the P because it's gonna target both of them, but the paragraphs. So let's maybe call this class subheader, subheading, or something like that. Again, not using BEM or anything like that here. We're just trying things out. If we're gonna use BEM and you're gonna make me like create all these long names and come up with them, we're gonna stay here way longer. So believe me, you don't want that. Color is gonna be our var accent color secondary. Yep. So if we save it, yay, nice. It's the small steps, you know, like the small things in life. Save here. So now what I had in mind is to actually have the header and the H1 in it, to use the font family that we have also downloaded, or that we have, this Aleo thing, because we didn't use it yet anywhere. And if you save it, yeah, I don't know if it changed anything for you, but to me it looks like it make it a little bit, tiny bit more sophisticated, if it can. Then what we need to do now is to align those things vertically. But I think I read that in Grid you cannot do that. We had here a thing where it said here, float, display inline block, display vertical align, and column properties have no effect on grid item. Oh, I think it was at the bottom, right? Wait, there was somewhere aligning here. Ooh, justify items, there we go. We want to align them like vertically. Align items center. Oh wait, then why did I use Flexbox if I can do that? Because I didn't know I can do that. So in the header, can I do this? What? Okay. Okay, I might be giving this grid a chance. Okay. It's not too bad, not too bad. Okay, so what about this coronavirus thing? I think it has too much of a margin bottom. Let's maybe override it. It's our subheading. Let's do a margin bottom. Leave this mark gone, it keeps on coming. What if we do none? Will the H1 has the margin top? Yeah, I think that's the thing. Well, let's keep it like that. I don't want to play now with margins of headers. It's not too bad. I would though increase the font size a tiny bit because I think it should be a little bit bigger. Like 3 rem. Yes, that's nice. Padding is too big. I like the margin. Okay, let's do margin top of 1 rem. Is that gonna be too small? No, that's all right. But then I think we should also do a margin bottom because now it looks like they're not the same. Because I think they're not. So the top and the bottom is gonna be 1 and the horizontal is gonna be 0. Yeah, cool. Now our horizontal line, the width of it is gonna be in fixed pixels because it's a tiny thing and it's gonna be good. Can we align it? Is it gonna work with text aligned? Left? No, it's not. So what is causing this to go to the center? Let's select it. Hey, sister codes, love the stream. Thank you so much. Glad you can join. What time is it at your place? Is it already evening? No, it's probably like lunchtime, right? Okay, so here the HR. So how I usually like to see what is applying to this class and why it's being like in the center. Let me put this thing on top. So I selected the horizontal line, and then I go to compute it in the inspector. And you can see, yeah, you can see stuff. And it has tons of margins. So what if we just remove their margin? Just margin 0. Oh, you know why the margin bottom none didn't work? Because that's not a valid thing. You just need to do a 0. Yeah. Or did it work? No, it didn't work. Did it? No, I didn't. I think I tried it once, it didn't. So anyway, look at this beauty. Let's do the p tag here smaller. But because remember we have 2 p tags, if we're gonna just write header and p tag, it's gonna apply to both, even though this one has a class. So we're not gonna do that. How are we gonna call it? Description? It's not description. I have no idea how to call it. I'm gonna call it description. The first thing that came to my mind is gonna be it. Description. And then we don't need the header anymore. We can just specify description straight away. And our font size is gonna be the same as our navigation. Because remember, you don't want to apply thousands of font sizes. You want it to be a little bit unified. So actually, you could also put that in a variable and have it like small font size, or text small, text big, or text header, something like that. What was the font size? 0.75. Okay, so 0.75 rem. I think it's a little bit too small. Here I am talking about unifying things. Is it maybe the thickness of the text that changes? Could be, right? I think this is just like thin. Which we could also add. So if we go to our Google fonts that we had, we could add a light version of our Aleo. No, we need a Roboto. So our Roboto, where's our Roboto? Here it is. We could also add the thin one. And think how they add them. I was just like sitting on my mic. If I add the Roboto like this, here's the thin. So what it added is Roboto colon 100 for 100. So copy this, or don't copy, just watch what I do and just put it in your code as well. So in here in Roboto, where we imported the, we didn't import it, we just linked it. You write Roboto colon W GHT, is it G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Yeah, HT at 100 semicolon 400, which now enables us to use, so remove the font size, we're not gonna change the font size, we're gonna change the font weight, and it's gonna be 100. So let me bring back the screen. If I, yeah. Oh, that's nice. Wait, let me also change that then in the navigation, in links, where the font size. Maybe we can remove then the font size. If the font weight is too thin, then maybe the font size can be bigger. Yeah, no. Yeah. I like that. I do like that. And this, yeah, we're gonna need to work on our responsiveness. Okay, for a second I was like, what? Okay. Cool. Ah, all right. we have our navigation and we have our header. So we did this full part. We didn't do the responsive yet, but we are gonna do that once the website is done. Next would be global stats, and we're gonna be building these grid things. But since the stream is already 2 hours and a half, I think I'm gonna finish it here for today, because for a person who is not streaming or has not streamed before, my throat is screaming for, I don't know what, but it doesn't want to talk anymore. So let's meet tomorrow. What do you say? No, tomorrow I can't. Thursday. Let's do Thursday. Let's do Thursday and continue it from there. If you want to be sure when I'm gonna be streaming that, then what is this? Okay. If you want to be sure in my schedule, which I still didn't define anywhere and I'm still figuring it out, then feel free to follow me on Instagram, because I announce everything there. I just talk to myself and record it, and you're gonna be yeah, you're basically gonna know everything, when the stream happens, what, and all of those kind of things. Sorry, you see, I gotta wrap it up. Thank you everyone for joining. I didn't expect some people to see them here. That was like, whoa, you're here. Okay, sorry for your ears right now. I'm actually gonna push to GitHub whatever we have done so far. This video is recorded. You can go over it if you want. And on Thursday, we're gonna pick it up from these global stats. We're gonna do the global stats. We're gonna do the precautions, this page. Let me show you this one. And we're not gonna do the grid garden, so don't worry, I'm not gonna like bore you with me learning grid. Although that was fun. Thank you also everybody who helped, because the tip with the lines was the best one. Yeah, changed the whole game for me. And then probably we're also gonna tackle responsive. So gonna wish you a good day, evening, night, wherever you are. Stay safe and see you Thursday. Bye. Now it's gonna take a while.